Trained intuition. Ever get that weird sixth sense to do something you could easily dismiss? Go somewhere you weren't planning to go. Say yes when you'd normally say no. Take a tiny detour from your routine. Then later realize that decision was one of the luckiest moments of your life? Lucky people get that feeling a lot, and it's usually your mind spotting a pattern faster than your logic can explain it. It seems like ESP, but it's actually something psychologist Gary Klein calls recognition-primed decision-making, where your brain matches what's happening right now to a library of past experiences and flashes a green light before your conscious mind even registers it. Firefighters do this when they evacuate a building seconds before it collapses. Chess masters do it when they see the winning move in under 3 seconds. And lucky people do it when they sense an opening that everyone else walks past. The catch is, it only works when your gut has been trained. You need reps, feedback loops, and enough real-world experiences to teach your intuition the difference between fear and recognition. Lucky people build that library through exposure, then trust the signal when it arrives. They don't overthink it. They move based on gut feelings, then verify with logic after they've already acted. To train your gut, start small. Make low-stakes decisions quickly based on how you feel, then track what happens. Did the situation turn out as expected? Was that opportunity worth pursuing? The key is closing the feedback loop so your brain learns which hunches were accurate and which were just anxiety disguised as intuition. Opportunity creation. If luck had a GPS, it wouldn't take you to your couch. It would take you to events, groups, side projects, and conversations where you can bump into something useful by accident. Psychologist Richard Wiseman spent a decade studying lucky versus unlucky people and found that the luckiest ones don't sit around hoping something happens. They maximize what he calls chance opportunities by putting themselves in high-variance environments where randomness can work in their favor. They go to the meetup. They take the workshop. They stay an extra 20 minutes at the event after everyone else has already left. And because they show up more often in more places, they increase their chances for serendipity. There's a biological component too. Lucky people tend to have lower baseline anxiety, which makes them more comfortable in unfamiliar social settings. That means they're more likely to start conversations with strangers, accept invitations, and explore new environments without overthinking the risks. Unlucky people, by contrast, stick to routines, avoid variability, and then wonder why nothing interesting ever happens to them. The difference isn't fate, it's exposure. Lucky people engineer situations where luck has room to show up. If social anxiety is holding you back, start by reframing strangers as potentially interesting people instead of threats to avoid. Commit to one low-pressure social event per week where the only goal is showing up, not performing. The more exposure you get, the more your nervous system learns that most interactions are neutral or positive, which gradually lowers baseline anxiety. Action bias. Most lucky breaks aren't rare, just time-sensitive. You don't need superpowers, you just need to take action while everyone else is still thinking about it. Opportunities rarely announce themselves with a countdown timer, but they might as well. The perfect job post stays live for 3 days. The apartment gets snatched in 6 hours, and that hottie you want to ask out on a date won't be single for long. Lucky people understand that hesitation is expensive, so they've trained themselves to move quickly when something looks promising. They don't wait for perfect information. They act on good enough and adjust as they go. In behavioral terms, this trait is known as action bias, the tendency to favor doing something over doing nothing, even when inaction might be rational. In uncertain situations where the cost of acting is low and the cost of missing out is high, action bias becomes an advantage. It's not recklessness, it's calculated movement. Lucky people have already done the mental prep work, so when the moment arrives, they don't need to start from zero. They've thought through their criteria in advance. They know what a yes looks like, and when they see it, they don't stall. They reply, they show up, they make the call. They let everyone else finish reading the pros and cons list while they're already 3 steps ahead. To develop this, pre-decide your criteria for common decisions. What makes a job worth applying to? What makes an event worth attending? What makes a connection worth pursuing? When you've already established your filters, taking action is the next logical step. Optimism bias. Your expectations are like a remote control for your behavior. What you attempt, how long you stick with it, and how you come across to other people. Lucky people expect good things to happen, and that's why, for them, they tend to happen a lot. This isn't delusional positivity. It's what psychologists call positive expectancy, and it changes how you behave in measurable ways. When you expect a good outcome, you try more things, persist longer through setbacks, and radiate a vibe that makes other people want to help you. When you expect failure, you quit early, avoid risk, and project an energy that pushes opportunities away before they even arrive. Wiseman's research found that self-identified, lucky people scored significantly higher on optimism and lower on neuroticism, which meant they approached uncertain situations with curiosity instead of dread. That mindset didn't make luck appear out of nowhere. It just kept them in the game long enough for probability to work. Unlucky people, on the other hand, expected bad outcomes and then created self-fulfilling prophecies by giving up too soon or avoiding situations entirely. To build positive expectancy, keep a luck journal where you write down 3 things that went better than expected each week. Your brain has a negativity bias that makes you remember failures more than wins, so deliberately tracking positive outcomes recalibrates your expectations toward a more accurate and optimistic baseline. Attentional control. Luck favors the person who actually notices what's going on. When your attention isn't hijacked by stress, mental noise, or doom scrolling through your phone, you spot opportunities other people miss. Wiseman ran an experiment where he gave people a newspaper and asked them to count the photographs inside. Halfway through, there was a massive half-page message that said, "Stop counting. There are 43 photographs in this newspaper." Most of the self-described unlucky people missed it completely because they were too focused on the task. The lucky people saw it immediately. The difference wasn't intelligence, it was attentional flexibility. Lucky people scan their environment with a wider lens. Unlucky people lock onto one thing and miss everything else. This shows up in neuroscience research too. High anxiety narrows your attentional field, which makes you better at focused tasks, but worse at noticing peripheral information. Lucky people tend to have lower anxiety and better attentional control, which means they catch the offhand comment, the person lingering near the door, the flyer on the bulletin board, and the introduction that wasn't planned. They're not more observant because they're gifted. They're more observant because their brains aren't running a constant threat detection loop. To widen your attention, practice relaxing your focus in low-stakes environments. Sit in a coffee shop and notice everything in your peripheral vision without staring directly at it. The goal is training your brain to process more of the scene without tunnel vision. When your nervous system is calmer, your attention naturally broadens and opens your mind up to a world of possibilities. Selective risk-taking. Lucky people don't gamble, they place lopsided bets. They take small potential downsides for a shot at a meaningful upside, so if it fails, they'll still be okay, and when it hits, it can change their life. This is what venture capitalists call asymmetric risk, and it's one of the most reliable ways to engineer luck. You apply to the program where rejection costs you nothing, but acceptance changes your trajectory. You pitch the idea that takes 2 hours to write, but could land a high-paying contract. You reach out to the person who might ignore you or might become a career-altering connection. The downside is trivial. The upside is transformative. Lucky people run these bets constantly because the math is heavily in their favor. Unlucky people avoid asymmetric bets because they overweigh the emotional cost of rejection and underweigh the potential payoff. They treat a no like a personal failure instead of a data point. Lucky people, by contrast, have desensitized themselves to small losses. They've normalized hearing no so many times that it doesn't register as painful anymore. That psychological shift allows them to take more swings, and more swings mean more hits. They're not luckier because fate smiles on them. They're luckier because they've designed a portfolio of low-cost, high-reward attempts, and probability does the rest. Start by identifying asymmetric opportunities in your own life. Applications with no fee, introductions that cost 1 email, and side projects that take a weekend. The pattern to look for is small time or ego cost, large potential upside. Then commit to doing at least 1 a week until rejection stops feeling personal. Cognitive reappraisal. A setback can be a dead end, or it can be data. Lucky people are weirdly good at turning "that sucked" into "good, at least now I know," which keeps them moving forward instead of stuck in the quicksand of bitterness, slowly dragging them down. This is cognitive reappraisal, a well-studied emotion regulation strategy where you reinterpret a negative event to reduce its emotional impact and extract useful information. When someone who considers themselves unlucky gets rejected, they ruminate, internalize it, and stop trying. When a lucky person gets rejected, they analyze what happened, learn from their mistakes, and try again somewhere else. Same event, completely different psychological outcome. Wiseman's luck research found that people who self-identified as lucky were significantly better at finding the silver lining in bad situations. They didn't pretend the setback didn't hurt, they just refused to let it become the story. A failed business became market research. A bad hire became a lesson in vetting. A missed opportunity became proof they needed to move faster next time. That mindset doesn't erase the pain, but it keeps you functional, and functional beats defeated every single time. Unlucky people get stuck replaying the failure. Lucky people extract the lesson and get back in the game. To practice reframing, give yourself a couple hours to feel bad after a setback, then force yourself to answer 2 questions. What did I learn? And what will I do differently next time? Writing the answers down shifts your brain from rumination mode to problem-solving mode, which speeds up recovery and improves your chances of getting lucky the next time. Approachability. Opportunities don't only come from your talent, they come through other people's hands. If you appear good-natured, easy to talk to, and trustworthy, people offer you keys to unlock doors you didn't even know existed. This isn't about being fake or overly charming. It's about signaling warmth and competence, the 2 core dimensions of social perception. Research consistently shows that people who project warmth first and competence second get more unsolicited help, more introductions, and more second chances than those who lead with competence alone. Lucky people tend to smile more, make better eye contact, and ask questions that make others feel heard. That combination makes strangers feel safe helping them out. Wiseman's research found that lucky people were more extroverted, more socially engaged, and better at building rapport quickly. They didn't manipulate people into helping them, they just made it easy and emotionally rewarding to do so. When someone feels good talking to you, they remember you. When they remember you, they think of you when an opportunity crosses their desk. Unlucky people often have plenty of skills but lack the approachability, so opportunities pass through other hands. It's not unfair, it's just how human networks operate. People help people they like, and likability is a trainable skill. To become more approachable, focus on 3 micro-behaviors. Smile when you make eye contact, ask 1 genuine follow-up question in conversations, and remember people's names. Those 3 signals alone account for most of what people perceive as warmth, and warmth is what makes people want to help you. Tolerance for uncertainty. You don't get guarantees at the start, only at the end, when it's too late to benefit. Lucky people are able to take action with incomplete information without freaking out, which puts them ahead in the race while others wait for a perfect sign. Psychologists call this ambiguity tolerance, and it's one of the strongest predictors of who takes initiative in uncertain environments. People with low ambiguity tolerance need clarity, structure, and predictable outcomes before they'll commit. People with high ambiguity tolerance can function just fine when half the variables are unknown. That difference determines who moves early and who stays frozen in time. Lucky people have trained themselves to be comfortable not knowing how things will turn out. They treat uncertainty as normal, not threatening. That allows them to say yes to opportunities that don't come with a roadmap, to start projects before they have all the answers, and to build relationships without knowing where they'll lead. Unlucky people wait for certainty, and by the time they get it, the opportunity is gone. Lucky people understand that most valuable opportunities live in the fog. You can't see the whole path from the starting line, and that's exactly why most people never take the first step. To build ambiguity tolerance, practice making simple, unimportant decisions without perfect information. Order something new off the menu. Take a different route home. Say yes to an invitation before you know all the details. These low-stakes experiments teach your nervous system that uncertainty doesn't equal danger, which makes bigger leaps easier to perform. Weak ties. Your close friends love you, and that's adorable, but they also know the same stuff you know. The big breaks often come from acquaintances, loose connections, and a friend of a friend that hooks you up with opportunities you wouldn't have found on your own. Sociologist Mark Granovetter published one of the most cited papers in social science history proving this exact point. He found that people were far more likely to land new jobs through weak ties, acquaintances, former colleagues, distant connections, than through close friends. The reason is simple. Your close friends occupy the same social circle, hear the same information, and know the same opportunities you already know about. Weak ties bridge you into entirely different networks, which means access to different jobs, different ideas, and different people. Lucky people intuitively understand this. They don't just invest in their inner circle, they maintain a broad network of casual relationships, and they stay visible enough that when something relevant pops up, someone thinks to mention their name. They're not networking in the gross, transactional sense. They're just staying connected to a wider variety of humans, which increases the odds that useful information flows their way. Unlucky people let weak ties fade, then wonder why they never hear about good opportunities until after they're gone. To maintain weak ties without it feeling like work, set a monthly reminder to reach out to 3 acquaintances with a low-effort message. Share an article they'd find interesting, ask how a project went, or just say you were thinking of them. That's enough to stay on someone's radar without demanding constant attention, and who knows what they might bring your way. Psychological resilience. Luck isn't just what happens to you, it's how quickly you're able to take the next swing. If you recover fast, you get more attempts, more reps, more conversations, and more shots on goal, while someone else is busy narrating their tragedy. This is what researchers call psychological resilience, but it's not just about bouncing back, it's about bouncing back quickly. 2 people can experience the same setback. One spends 3 months processing it, the other spends 3 days, then gets back to work. After a year, the fast recovery person has attempted at least 10 more things. After 5 years, the gap is enormous. Lucky people aren't more talented, they just get more chances at bat because they don't stay down as long. Wiseman's research found that lucky people reframed setbacks faster, which shortened their emotional recovery time and kept them moving forward. They didn't suppress the disappointment, they just refused to let it become a multi-month identity crisis. Unlucky people experience the same losses, but treat each one like a referendum on their worth, which keeps them stuck in rumination instead of action. The compounding advantage of fast recovery is one of the most underrated traits in the entire luck equation. You don't need to avoid failure, you just need to get back up faster than everyone else. To speed up recovery, set a fixed grieving window for setbacks, a day or 2 for small losses, 1 week for medium ones, and 2 weeks maximum for major ones. When the timer ends, force yourself back into action, even if you don't feel ready. Motion creates emotion, not the other way around, and acting your way back into confidence works better than waiting for motivation to return on its own. Luck is a skill set, not a birthright. It's a set of behaviors you can train, every one of which compounds with the others. Start building one this week and see how long it takes for you to become the person everyone else thinks is the lucky one.